Ready?
All right, 7:32, and type B Economic Development Committee regular meeting on August 9th, 2022. Citizens Forum. Do we have anybody to speak in?
No, sir.
All right. So to discuss, consider, and take action to approve the meeting minutes from July.
One correction.
Okay.
I was not chairman
Oh,
last time.
thank you.
Did you get fired?
Yeah. I wasn't here on the 12th. So.
Too much food. I just moved it.
Bill was chairman.
So was there anything we needed to discuss or take action from that meeting?
Just need to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with those minor changes of Pam place four and Justin chairman.
I'll second.
And all approved? Not approved? No. Next we'll review year-to-date financial statements as of July 20th.
You really don't have much to talk about because not much has really happened. There's been no significant expenses. You're going to wind up well under budget at the end of the year, largely in part because of the Joshua Chamber money that is not going out. We'll clean all that stuff up in a mid-year amendment, but things are going well in the park. Everything's working. They're finally getting caught up with mowing, and we've got new mulch that's getting put in. That's most of the stuff that's going on there. It's just been day-to-day maintenance stuff. Financially, all are good. All fields are doing real well. I think this year we're probably going to see some return on that investment with redoing the fields and the softball. There's some plans for some weekend tournaments and stuff, and hopefully they'll make a push to bring in a few more softball teams here. It's been lagging a little bit, I think, with the older girls because of the mounds. So it's work to move those portable mounds in and out. They're pretty stout, but yeah, so far they're draining off really quick. And
We had to practice after this, you know, we had to move them out back.
you got to work. Did they get a dolly out there? I told them that a dolly's the best way to move those things. Just stand it up, roll it, because they're too big. Especially that big one. It's hard to manage.
You made that part of the warm up.
There you go. There you go.
Any other questions on that? Okay. Discuss and review the balance in the park dedication fund.
This is the fund that you guys asked for when developments choose to buy into park dedication fees versus set aside land and property. So there has been 4 that have done that. Those amounts are there for you to review. That money is setting in the general fund, restricted for parkland development or park upgrades. So there's $96,000 in there. By ordinance, that money has to stay where it is until you guys choose to spend it. And then we just list that expenditure, just like any other. You would approve it here, it would go to council for approval, and then that money would probably be transferred into the type B fund at that particular time, and then we would issue a check from type B to cover whatever the expense is. So that money is there. You can buy property with it. You can do upgrades to parks with it. You could use it for things in current park. You could use it on things in new park, or you could wait because Joshua Meadows is fixing to open up. That phase is fixing to dedicate that parkland. So there's another, I think it's another 3 or 4, 5 acres or something out there for that one, that you may want to use this money for.
So like the Wildwood fund doesn't have to be used like Wildwood.
The restrictions is has to be used in or around the local park stuff. We've got a park plan that ties everything together. And so you could argue that some could be spent there, some could, I think any park that just increases the availability of what we have with our size, I think you can do with it what you choose.
All right. Discuss and receive updates on the Cooper Valley Park project.
We're working on getting property, dirt brought in over there to kind of level that off. I was hoping to have a survey ready tonight. So y'all could take a look at the layout and give me a little bit of idea on where you wanted to put a walking track and kind of set things up. There's also some things to consider, and I don't know if I would recommend it just yet, because I think there's some other options that we're looking at. But the previous park, we hired somebody to design and put that together, but that comes at an expense. I'm not suggesting it's not worth that expense. Certainly was for the 26-acre park down on Main Street. I don't know that it will be worth that kind of expense for a 3.5 acre. So we're kind of looking at those. I would also like you to consider, obviously, once we get it in there, we're going to have to put a sidewalk to connect the sidewalks across the front. But before we actually go into the area and do much, TML's annual conference is coming up in October. And there is always a half a dozen or so of these park playground people there with all the newest, latest, and greatest stuff. It might be well to take a look at some of that stuff. And a lot of those people, when you buy their stuff, they'll draw it out for you. That might be an opportunity to get some of that stuff done without spending a lot of money. And there's certainly going to be people there to look at stuff. I'm going to be going with another council member, provided they don't lock it down and cancel it. And it's in Houston, and so Harris County, they could well, the whole thing may get canceled, and if it doesn't, we'll just send the stuff to them. But like I say, the survey guys are a little behind because of the rain. But once I get that, then before we just kind of draw in sidewalks, I wanted you guys, it's kind of an odd shaped lot. Not really pie shaped. I'm not sure what you call it. It's got a little hitch up on the top of it. And we know there's one fence that's a couple of feet over the property line. I think we're just going to leave that alone, and it's not really hurting anything, and I don't think it's worth the expense to have them to move it. And we'll just show it on there, and I've already visited with the property owner to let them know it's moved over. And
Will we hold this park on the street then for the park?
there has not been any planned parking in there, but I think that's something that we talk about when we look at it. The sidewalks connecting the neighborhood, I think you're mainly going to get people that live in that neighborhood. So a lot of it's going to be walking traffic. Plus, there's a huge gas line that runs along the fence line of it. So we could get parking in there. I don't know how much. We just have to kind of take a look at the survey. It's another reason I needed the survey to see. We can put a sidewalk over it, but I can't put a building on it. Can't put anything permanent on it. And depending on where it is, I can't set. We're talking about a play structure out there. Those things are going to be anchored several feet into the ground with concrete footage. So I don't want to be out there digging around until I know where that gas line is. It's a big one. It's a 36-inch high pressure. I don't want to hit it.
Playgrounds out on top of that.
Well, if you saw the map of where gas lines in this city were, you probably moved. They're all over, but they're all over everywhere. So it's, it is what it is. But I mean, unless you're just in a hurry to do something this year, the funding that we've got for that will roll over, so it's not going anywhere. And because we're having to fill it in and deal with the drainage issue anyway, surveying was kind of the first step. I thought it had a survey when it got conveyed, but it did not. So we're having that done now. For your next meeting, I'll give you the survey and we can talk about how far you want to go.
All right, discuss, consider, and possible action on the fiscal year 2021, 2022 proposed.
I've got listed for you the items that could be changing and that we're proposing to change in the upcoming budget. Now, you'll see this all laid out next month. Most of this stuff is in here now, so you get kind of an idea of how it's going to look. Currently, y'all pay for 2 full-time employees in the park. We're going to add request to add a third, since we've got the second park that's fixing to be coming online, and then the third one right along behind it. We've also included a shared expense with Type A for a half-time economic development coordinator position. I shared with I think y'all were here about the comment that Paulette Hartman made a couple of weeks ago with the council, was to not cheap this position out. We're seeing things now that a lot of us in this room have been working on for years. Stuff that's starting to happen. Rooftops are starting to come in. Some development of Joshua Station is moving. We've got water line projects going in for future stuff. We've got almost 1,000 lots almost ready to build on, and there's no sign of slowdown. Traffic numbers are increasing, rooftops are increasing. There's no reason to think that development is going to stop. But I think it's important that we take a look at what we had. An economic development coordinator that was working 20 hours a week. And most of her contacts and her focus was on really people that were already here. And that's all fine and good to keep those relationships, but we really need somebody that will go find the people that aren't here and help work those deals. Somebody that knows the in and outs there. We've not had very good luck with consultants. We had a couple of them. We got our name out there, but I'm not sure that you can put on any of them any project that they worked on that's on the ground here. So I think we need somebody that can stand right in front of this board and the Type A board once a month and talk about what they're doing and where they're going, and that can focus on development. That $45,000, we estimate that salary to include benefits. So we're probably talking about a salary in the $65,000 to $70,000 range. If we can find one, some think we can. I think we can. We'll see. Be the first mistake I've made. The IT security is for some park improvements to get Wi-Fi on the other side of the park, so that the video cameras will stream into the fire station, so we can catch all the people doing things we don't want them doing. We'll be replacing the zero-turn mowers that are 8 years old now. We're starting to spend quite a bit of money on them, keeping them up and running. So they're actually a year past their projected life. Then you've got the 380 agreement, the parking agreement for the parking lot across the street. That is what we estimate the annual cost of that will be based on that'll be replaced by sales tax revenues that come in from downtown under that agreement. There's been talk about a volleyball court, so we've included funding in here for that to go in the park down on Main Street. We're taking a look at that, working on those figures, and then some expenses to Cooper Valley to the park there. And we've got about $70,000, I believe, already set aside for that park that will roll over into this year. And then this was just a number for a few added things that people have talked about that they want to see over there. And then, of course, you also have some of that other money that's available if you choose to use it.
I think that playground equipment would be a little higher.
The playground equipment is once you get to a certain beyond the toddler range, the numbers go up exponentially, and whatever you spend on buying it, you will spend on having it installed. We installed the last one in-house at the park, but it was a toddler playground. There was 4 holes to drill. Some of these bigger ones that some of the board members have expressed an interest in, that's not something we can undertake. We'll have to have them come in. So that's why I want to talk to those people in Houston and to really find out, there's talk about, we've got mulch in these 2 playgrounds over here. They are a maintenance nightmare. So I'm curious to see what new products are out there. Keeping that stuff turned, and every couple of years you got to dig it out, put all new mulch in. We just did that last year, and that mulch is a project. So those are the things that are proposed. We also, you will notice a decrease in your expenditures. We're taking the $156,000 payment that's been transferred into debt service from the YMCA. And the TIF board for the first time this year, will actually make that payment. That was the original plan, was to eventually have the TIF board take over those payments. They can't quite make it all. The general fund will still make the other half of it, but the TIF board will be making the part that usually this board has made. So projections include a 7.5% increase in sales tax revenues based on year-to-date increases that are currently at 13.4% over projections. The expenditures are expected to be decreased by $56,000 or 13% from the current fiscal year. And largely that's the YMCA. We're in the cutback mode here.
All right, so there's no action to be taken on this, so is there, or we just need to approve the possible?
Just make a motion to accept the proposed budget.
And if there's more y'all want to see,
Yeah.
tell me.
Is there, on the volleyball court, it says 15 grand. That includes, how we had talked about how it needs to be dug out correctly.
It's $15,000 to do it if we do it in-house. And depending on how in-depth we get, will kind of tell us that. I think we can do it in-house. I don't think it needs to be a huge fee undertaking. We can dig out 4 or 5 inches deep, line it, put some drainage in it. I don't think that's really all that big a deal. Matter of just getting it placed so that the drainage will go where the water's already going. And in that open space to the north of that restroom, inside the track, kind of about where we show the movies in that area. We'll probably be the best place to put it. If we put it up by Main Street, we're gonna have people pulling off the road, parking in the grass all night to play, so. And I can better light it if it's over there too. I can get United Co-op to add me a light over there pretty easy. On that side, it would be a lot more difficult on the street side. And I'm gonna hit them up about lighting it, so. If they're not listening.
Anybody else have any questions? Vote on approving the proposed budget.
I'll make a motion, we approve proposed budget.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Merle would have approved. We'd have talked to him. He'd have something to say. He'd-
Thank you.
And he'd still be saying,
All right, discussion with the Joshua Kiwi Football Association regarding future plans and activities.
here,
Enough.
they're not here. All I can tell you, did I give y'all their little memo, email? Thought I sent the email, maybe not. One of the board members contacted me about a month ago and asked what they want to do is to begin a relationship with the city. We looked at this several years back. The board asked them for either a recent audit of their numbers or some document that would give us an idea of what kind of revenues they were talking about, where their money was going, what assets they had and all that stuff. That was something they were not willing to do. So the conversation kind of ended. My understanding is the new athletic director has reached out to them and is going to be sending coaches to help coach the Pee Wee teams. To help develop those skills as they move up into the grades. Which I think is a great idea to do, if they're willing to do that. So they're doing some things to better their relationship with the school district. They wanted to include us if they could. I told them that was fine. They just needed to come to this board and have a discussion about what they wanted, what they're looking at. They were invited here tonight. I guess they couldn't make it. So I will reach out to him and extend an invitation for the September meeting.
Is that Mark?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know him? I don't know him. I'm not
Very
sure.
involved.
I'm not sure that I know any. Seemed like a nice enough fellow that, he said they've got a new board. They're trying to do some new things and to better I don't know anything about the program. I know they use a lot of the school's facilities to practice and play on. Beyond that, I don't really know what their involvement or what they want the city's involvement to be, but so I invited him to come here and convey that, and I will send something to him tomorrow, and we will invite someone to the next one.
Any future agenda items? Discuss next time?
Your budget at the next meeting will be for approval, and then it'll go to the council on, what is the
The
meeting?
19th, maybe?
Is that September also?
Yes.
So we'll have it ready to go to council following that on the 19th. So if you
16th.
think of anything that, you want to take a look at, give me a call before then. So that I can plug it in.
All right. On that note, 7:56, meeting adjourned.
Thank you all for